everybody. Thank you for joining us today for Exceptional Educators Playbook. I'm Chastity Craft, the literacy consultant here at KVEC, and I have with me Vonda Adams and Stephanie Kidd, our math consultants here at KVEC. So we are going to be talking today about what explicit instruction looks like in math and literacy. We're joining our math and literacy ones together this month because it's a short month. So we hope that you can enjoy that. The purpose of this podcast is to offer professional learning opportunities to meet the needs of our teachers in the region. We want you guys to have a platform that you can share your expertise and have access to resources as well. So each month we highlight a different topic that everybody needs to know, every educator. We will break that down into weekly topics, the first one being literacy, the second one being math. The third week looks at the topic through a social emotional lens, and then week 4 talks about what it would look like for the modifications and models for the low incidence community. So today, like I said, we're going to be doing explicit instruction in literacy and math, and we are super excited to have Miss Angie Cordell. She's a special education teacher at Prestonsburg Elementary School from the Floyd County School District, and she's going to share with us what explicit instruction looks like in her classroom, her virtual classroom, and how that differs from virtual to in-person, how she's implementing that, and also she's going to share some resources and also some barriers that she's had to overcome during this time that we're in. So we want to encourage you to, well, I started to say drop comments in the chat, but you know, you can drop comments in the chat. And if you are watching this later and not live, then you can contact us as well. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Angie Cordell. Angie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
This is my 5th year teaching. I'm married and I have 2 children, and I'm getting ready to be a Mimi in March, so I'm excited about that. I've always wanted to teach, but I got into it a lot later than most people I think do. I really enjoy it. I really like teaching special education. I think that's just where my heart is. I like working in small groups and one-on-one when at all possible. That's about it. I really love what I'm doing right now.
Oh, that's awesome, and that shows.
Yes,
it definitely shows in your teaching. Before we let you start talking about what it looks like in your classroom, Angie, we just want to quickly give the textbook definition of what explicit instruction is, and then you can go on from there. So I have 2 definitions I'd like to read. The first one is from our IEP and Lesson Plan Development Handbook that is on the, you can find it as a resource on the KDE website that I hope that everybody has handy that they use as a reference, because this is a very good reference. The definition from that says that it is a systematic instructional approach that includes a set of delivery and design procedures derived from effective schools research merged with behavior analysis. And then the other definition that we have is from Anita Archer and Charles Hughes, the explicit instruction book. There's in the explicit instruction teaching that all of us use is from Anita Archer. She's the guru. Their definition is a systematic method of teaching with emphasis on proceeding in small steps, checking for students' understanding, and achieving active and successful participation by all students. Keyword being all, I think, on that one.
Absolutely.
So that's our textbook definition. So Angie, take it. What does that mean?
For me, I do a lot of I do, we do, and you do. So first I teach the skill of what the expectation. So if it's addition, subtraction, I'll work 4 or 5 problems, whatever that I need to make sure that my students understand what they're doing. And then we'll move on to the we do. So we'll work some together. And then, of course, the you do is strictly the students' work. And I always, during the I do, I will check for understanding. I'll ask students questions about what I did, and then I'll let them give me feedback so that I know that they're watching and understanding what, processes I take. And then during the we do, again, I let them, we'll start working out our problems, whether it's either in math or in reading. We talk about what needs to be done. And then in the we do, I go over and I let them, we're both doing it at the same time. So it could be that I'm getting ideas from them and writing them down, or we're working the problem together, however. And then I will check for understanding throughout that time. And I do a lot of assessment as like, if you understand, if does this make sense, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. And if I feel like they don't want to be on the spot, then I'll say, okay, I need everybody to close their eyes and give me a thumbs up if you understand, give me a thumbs down if you don't. And then that way, none of my students feel like that all eyes are on them if they don't understand. I don't want anybody to ever be afraid to let me know that they don't get something. I'm really big on, in my classroom, building relationships. So even before we start instruction of any kind, I make sure that I ask my students how they are today. Or, I'll say, well, what kind of mood are you in? And, I'll say, I'm a happy mood. Or, or if I'm not having a good day, I'll say, I'm kind of in a sad mood. Or, so I always try to start conversations that way. And then I'll move on into the instruction. That way it's a breakdown with the kids. They know that if there's something going on, they can talk to me about it. Or if they want to talk to me later, they know they can, whatever. And it just takes a couple of minutes before instruction. And then that way, if something's going on and they're having a bad time, it doesn't interfere during the time of instruction. And I have found that to be very useful. And I do that online too.
I think that's
I was going to show you, of course, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that I think that's a very good, procedure, I guess, technically, but for you, that's just caring about your kids. That's just something that you do. But I think that is so important. It's important any day, but especially you're doing that online as well. And because at least when they're in person, at least during the day they have the safe environment, but right now, you really don't know. So making sure you have that check-in with them every day is so important. So I think that's awesome that you do that.
Well, thank you. I start online. Of course, I ask them when they come in, because you can tell when students are in person, we know our kids. We know, you can tell by the look they have on their face, whether they're smiling, whether they're sad. You just know them. And of course, online is totally different. It's a lot harder to know how they're feeling because you can't really feel it or see it as much. I do make my kids, I request them to have their cameras on so that I can, see them, and I keep my camera on, of course, so they can see me. I feel that's real important. In the classroom, when we are doing, before COVID, I have a U-shaped table, and I would always sit my students, because I have a small group. And so I would sit them in front of me, and I would be on the opposite side. So when we would do the I do, I could show them exactly from the board, or I would use a lot of the small boards that, handheld boards. And all my students have one. And you can get them, if you don't have any, they're cheap. You can get, I forget what it's called. You can get it at Lowe's for like $14, and they'll cut it for you. And it probably makes 30 boards or more. But I have those, and all my students have their own markers and everything, and we would write when we're in class, and then that would be like kind of a formative assessment, they could just show me real quick. I'll be like, okay, so, you know, we would work our problems together, and I'll say, all right, on one, when I get to 3, you're going to flip it. And I go 1, 2, 3, and we would all flip our boards. And if they got it wrong, we would talk about why they got it wrong. And I wouldn't say, well, why did you get that wrong? I would say, okay, well, let's talk about how we got different answers, because, you know, again, I don't like to finger point at anybody that they made a mistake. So, and a lot of times in class, and this is one of my favorite things to do, is I will intentionally make mistakes so that they can call me out on it. So that lets them know that, you know, yes, I'm a teacher, but I make mistakes too, and it's okay.
Right.
I'm real big about that. Now online, I've had to come up with some different ways to work interactively with my students, and I found one that I really like, so I was going to share that with you. It's called Whiteboard.chat. It is, it is one of my favorites.
And while she's pulling that up, I dropped that into the literacy Google Classroom, and for those of you who have joined that classroom, and it will be in the math one as well. The codes for those is X for the literacy, it's XLZLGGS, and for the math, it's FNJPQQN.
And Angie, Doug said that he loved the check-in with students each day, and it helps set the mood for the day, and that was a great idea. He also said that may also want to think about checking in with caregivers as well. So I know that you do that because you talked about to your parents.
I do. I call my parents. Well, I'm blessed in the area when I say, now I do have very small groups, and I am blessed that in one class I have 4 students that join, you know, 2 classes is the math and reading. I have 4 students that join faithfully every day. I have the 3 of the students have a caregiver that's always right there with them, and then I have 1 that does not. For whatever, you know, there's many reasons that the student does pretty much by himself everything. And while we're talking about that, another way that the challenge that I have, and I know it's not just me because it's everybody I talk to, is getting participation on homework and assignments back to kids from our students. And so this particular student who has no grown-up, and when I address my students, I always say, you know, is a grown-up available? Do you have a grown-up there with you? And that way, because it's not always a parent. It could be a grandparent, it could be an aunt, it could be an uncle. So I've tried to train myself not to assume that it's ever always a parent, because I do have one student that is a grandparent. You know, and it could be a babysitter. I have some students that join lives from daycare. So I always address it as a grown-up, and then that way it's a kind of a cover-all. But with the one student, I had given a test on Friday, even though we were online and we were working together and I was reading on everything, he appeared as if he was answering all the questions and he looked like he was doing all the work. And then at the end of the class, I saw that I got nothing back from him. So the site, which is quizzes, QUIZZES, I think, I can't remember exactly.
I think it's izz.com.
That one, yes. I used that one, and he didn't understand how to follow through, even though I shared the screen and I showed him exactly what to do. So I had to figure out a way, because he still needs to take the assessments, and he still needs to, you know, I need to progress monitor, and I need to make sure I'm getting everything like that in. So today, after class, I asked him, I said, I need you to stay behind for just a few minutes. That way nobody else knows. and it's all about him. And then I had to figure out, I signed into his account with him, and I went over the assessment that way. I answered the questions that he told me. So he still got the test done. It was more one-on-one for him, and that's what he needs. So yeah, it does take a little bit more time, but that's what I'm here for. You know, I'm here to meet their needs and try to make sure that they're successful. And okay, so back to the whiteboard chat. This is one that I accidentally found, and when I say that, a lot of things that I use are accidental finds. I go out and I'm looking and I'm searching, and that's the ones that I have found to be more appropriate and more friendly for me to use. So on this one, you start with the start drawing, and I can choose to start teaching or to start collaborating. If you start collaborating, and that took me a little bit to figure out what the difference was, but the difference is with the start collaborating, it's a single board and everybody can use it, okay? The other one, the start teaching, it's my board, but students can get assigned their own board. And then I can go in while they're working on that board, and I can see what they're doing.
That is so cool.
Mm-hmm. Angie, while you're pulling that up, I want to address I've been sitting here listening and kind of making note of every time you talk about how you're monitoring the kids' understanding. And to me, that's the most vital piece of explicit instruction, is that you're constantly monitoring to see if they're getting it. And if they're not getting it, how you're changing what you're doing or how you're addressing it, or you're trying to find another way. So to me, that's what makes your instruction explicit, is that you are constantly monitoring, and you found another way here with this whiteboard chat to do that. And I think that's just awesome.
And I'm telling you, this is my favorite. I use this probably more than I have used anything else next to Cami, and I'll talk to you about that too. With the whiteboard, of course, you can't see I know it's up, but you can't see everything I'm doing. I can actually go in and I can download a picture. Let me make sure nope, that's not what I want. Okay, so this is like for whenever we work with, whenever I'm doing a writing piece with them, because, you know, we have to make sure we focus on a lot of writing, you know, happening. Third grade, that's what I'm teaching right now. So we have to focus a lot on getting written assignments and stuff, which is hard because I'm not on my Chromebook, so I can't use my finger, but you can do a text box, and when you click it, you can just say that we're talking about Santa, and it goes in there. And then I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, so give me some ideas. What do you think about Santa? And then they can tell me, and I can just keep clicking, and I can add, you know, he wears red. Of course, where you click is where it goes. So, you know, you kind of have to make sure you get it. I can erase it. If I make a mistake, it's not a big deal. We erase it, it goes.
I like how you said that. It's not a big deal if you make a mistake, we just erase it and we go. That is so important for our kids to understand.
Yeah, and I keep it down to, you know, hey, we all make mistakes. It's all good. Mm-hmm. And that's what, and I tell them that every day. I'm like, okay, so I made a mistake. Let me erase it. And then we just move on. I don't dwell on it. I don't get, you know, if they have an issue, I don't, you know, it's no big deal. I just make sure that they know just that they can be themselves.
That's so good, because part of that explicit instruction is giving corrective feedback that is not judgmental. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't want to be very judgmental at all about it. It's just a mistake. We learn from it. We move on. And that's a huge part of explicit instruction also.
And I don't know that she mentioned it, but this is free. I asked Angie about it when we were talking the other day, and she kind of scoffed at me. It was pretty funny because she's like, of course it's free. So in case anybody was wondering, it is free.
Yeah. Okay. Now I do, if I feel like that it's something that I love free stuff. Okay, and this, like I said, this is amazing. I'm gonna show you something else with the math that I can do with math. I'm just gonna leave this up here though, the web. But Cami, you can get it free. It's basic, and that's exactly what it is basic. You can pay a teacher a discount, gets it for $99 a year. You know, it's Christmas time, I can't do that. I ran out of my free trial. You do get a free trial for 90 days, and it's awesome. I would highly recommend it. I do worksheets with it. There's always ways around when you assign a worksheet, or and I don't like a lot of worksheets. I just give that as a filler to fill in what we've done. That's about it.
Just
But
more
I wanna show
opportunities
this.
for
I know
practice.
that Stephanie and Vonda will love this because, you know, it's what they love to do. But at, before Thanksgiving, I found, I don't know if it's on Teacher Pay Teacher or what, but I found a turkey math game, and it was addition and subtraction. So I don't know if you saw what I just did, but you can go to the tools and you can find your dice, and we'll hide it. But I'm gonna go into tools, and I'm gonna get my dice. And this is great. Kids absolutely had a ball with this. I can add dice. I can add, I think, up to 3. And I can take away dice. And the students can do it too.
So does it roll
the
over and
turkey
over
math-
again? Can you roll it
Yes,
over?
Just
and-
generate some, yeah.
It's watch.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you what I did with the turkey math. It was like a bingo math. And what I did is you had to read the bottom of it, and it was like, roll your dice and then add 10 to it. So I would roll my dice, and I would tell the students, I said, okay, well, 2 plus 4 is 6. And 6 plus 10 is, and I'd give them a second, I say 16, because this was me teaching it. And then I would put, and you're supposed to put a chip on it, because you know it's supposed to be, it's not supposed to be virtual, it's supposed to be in person. And so I drew a circle. And you can do that in many ways. All this over here to the side is your tools that you can use, different things. And in this tool, I don't know, I think that's where I found the circle or arrow, or here it is. And then I would just kind of put the circle over my number. And then we would do it again. Then we would do it again. I'd roll my dice again. And then I would call on somebody, and I'd say, okay, Stephanie, I said, 4 plus 1 is
5.
Okay, 5 plus 10 is
15.
good job. And then I would try to help them, but like I said, most of them had grown-ups there that could help them put their circle on it or draw it or however, because you can draw. Not as pretty, but it's doable. And then it was called bump. So say that I got 4 plus 1, and I go, okay, so 4 plus 1 is 5, and 5 plus 10 is 15, and I go, uh-oh, somebody got bumped.
Sounds like
I would do
moving.
it.
Yeah, it sounds
I would
very
do
much
it
like
in
moving.
way that's what it's called, I think, but they said bump in it.
Uh-huh.
And I would do it in a way that the students wouldn't get mad, because you know nobody likes to lose. So when I would say, oh, somebody got bumped, they would all get tickled, because then they wanted to get bumped. So that is, this is probably one of my favorites.
Well,
You
it
can-
seems like
you
it's
know,
good too, because your students, I mean, that would be something that they would enjoy. I love how you can model it. You have your whiteboard, but then they have their own, and I love
Yeah,
how
that's what I
you
was
can
gonna show
check
you.
it, and they
I forgot to
they
do that.
can't see other people's work.
Mhm.
I
They
mean, I love
cannot.
it.
Yeah, I really like that part of it.
So if I click that, whoever I have in here is gonna have their board. And then, and of course I can't do it because I don't have you all on a live class, but then I would click it, and then do you see how it's got join? So then I would hit join, and I'm in their board.
That's awesome.
And, you know, and then I can talk to them, I'll say, and they don't know who I'm talking to, just the person that's in it. I'll say, okay, so this doesn't look right. Let's talk about what we've done here, and then we'll go over it. And I'll say, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I love how you did that. So that way, they're getting the positive feedback that they need.
That is awesome. And
You can
again,
just
that
go back and
website
forth in
is,
between it.
that is whiteboard.chat. Whiteboard.chat for that one.
Okay, Angie, because we don't have a whole lot of time left, let's talk about what challenges you've had during this virtual time.
All right, the biggest challenge that I have had has been with the students not turning in homework, of course. I've had some that aren't participating like they're supposed to be, or like they need to
Did we lose her?
be. And, participation as far as getting on lives. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So, getting on lives is not something that's required. It's highly recommended. As participation, my kids, like I said, do pretty good. I have a few that don't do it. If I don't hear from them, I'll give them till like Wednesday. If I haven't heard anything from them on Monday and Tuesday, I'll call on Wednesday, see how they're doing. I'll say, okay, don't forget, we have a live. And then if they don't join on Thursday, I'll call during our live time and say, just want to remind you, we have a live. Most of my parents, I'm able to either text or message through Messenger. The biggest, I told you about one student who doesn't understand how to do things, so we'll work one-on-one. So I've done a lot of one-on-one. If parent needs me, that's the thing, that all they do is text me. I have worked up at 8 o'clock at night. I've got a message from a grandmother saying, he can't do this, help us. And I'm like, okay, go to Google Meet, and we'll go from there. My job is not just 7:30 to 3:30. If they need me, I work with them.
So Angie, let me interrupt you there just for a second. What are some things that you're doing to take care of yourself? Because that is also important. We've talked about how important you're taking care of our kids, you're taking on their caregivers, but you're working these long hours, and a lot of teachers are just going above and beyond. And what are you doing to take care of yourself? Because that you can't forget that. You can't forget yourself.
Well,
not to put you on the spot, but as you're talking, I could, I just, that's just so important. And
I honestly don't do a whole lot for me right now. I'm taking classes at night too, so there is not a whole lot of me time. However, I do have, my husband had got me a massage for Valentine's Day, I think, and I hadn't been able to use it because of COVID and whatever and whatnot. And so I finally made an appointment for that. So that is one thing that I'm going to do, is do that. In the evenings, I do try to take time in between getting things prepared because, as you know, virtual learning, it takes all of our time, or a lot of time. And I prepare and I'm grading, and it takes hours. I would rather be in class any day in person, for many reasons. But I try to take an hour a day if nothing else, and do nothing but focus on, talking to my family, watching a little TV, whatever. But I do try to take at least an hour a day. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes that's plenty.
Oh, are you ready to go? Okay. No, this should be finished by now.
So
yeah,
Angie, we appreciate you today coming on and being our guest.
oh my God.
We had somebody who just interrupted, and Chasty's got a kick out of it. But
Decided it's time for us to finish.
And if anybody ever watches these, they know that I do, anything not that just comes, that's not that takes me by surprise. I do not handle very well. It's just, I'm sorry. It is what it is. Okay.
It's called the real world.
Yeah.
But we are, it is about time for us to finish. But Angie, just any kind of advice that you would just give quickly to your teachers. You've done, you've covered so much for us, and we do appreciate that. But just one little quick, something that you would give advice for other teachers that's watching.
The biggest, build relationships with the students. That to me is one of the biggest things. Even though it's not in person, it can be done online. Take time, 5 minutes. Just, talk to them, let them talk to you, let them know you care, and you will get so much more out of them.
Sounds perfect, girl.
That sounds,
That's a
that
great
sounds
word to end on, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great ending. Thank you, Angie, so much for joining us. We appreciate you so much, more than you would ever know. We tell you, but we truly appreciate not just you coming here today, but just the work that you do for those kids every single day.
I appreciate that.
It's just, and we just appreciate you so much. But we want to thank everybody for joining us today. I'm so excited that we learned about what Angie is doing, the explicit instruction. Next week we're supposed to be talking about behavior and low incidence, but Angie proved to us today, and it seems it comes up every time, that building those relationships, which technically goes into that behavior piece, is important, and that you have to have that established before you can even think about math or reading or writing or science or whatever else that you do. So those relationships are so, so important. So I'm glad that we were able to talk about that, and we and tie that in. You can't do anything unless you get those relationships, those kids that you got to win them over for you. I love the whiteboard chat that you shared with us, that free resource. So thank you for sharing that with us today. If you have any questions, you can email any of us, chastity.craft, vonda.adams, stephanie.kid, and we're all at theholler.org. So if you guys want to, have any questions or comments or anything like that. Also excited to announce that we do have a Facebook and Instagram page now. So follow and like us on Facebook, KVEC Exceptional Children, and Instagram is KVEC EC. So we hope to see you on social media and here every Monday at 3:30. So until then, we'll holler at you later. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.